Welcome to this audio commentary track. I'm Mark Kermode, and very pleased to have with us Bill Forsyth, the writer and director of Gregory's Girl. Bill, tell us a little bit about how Gregory's Girl came about in the first place.
Well, I was kind of one of the stalwarts of the Scottish film industry in the 70s, and in those days it was a very nuts and bolts business. It was just we made sponsored films and documentaries. There wasn't a feature film on the horizon. It just wasn't a possibility.
Yeah.
But we, that kind of the generation I belong to, we were throughout the 70s. We were kind of making slow progress towards putting some ideas together for, feature films. And I suppose I got there first. I started to put the idea for Gregory's Girl together in about 1977, 78. I went to see the young people at the Youth Theatre in Glasgow. There's a whole bunch of them there, and got to know them over the course of about a year or so. I used to go to the Youth Theatre every Friday night and hang out with them and learn how to talk to actors and things like that. And it took such a long while to put the money together for Gregory's Girl, including the BFI turning us down because they told me it was too commercial.
That was the reason for not doing it.
Yes, that was the 70s.
This might have an audience. You can't possibly make that.
It's in the letter. I've still got the letter. So, kind of in the huff with the BFI and to try and keep the energy going with the young people, I made another film called That Sinking Feeling. And funnily enough, the success that had at Edinburgh Festival and things made it much more easy to find the money for Gregory's Girl, and that's how it came about. So we did this the year after, but 9 months later actually.
But so you had actually planned out the origins of Gregory's Girl before Sinking Feeling?
I had the whole script, everything, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for you, what were the origins of the script? Where does the story come from?
It was just purely calculation. I mean, as I say, we were trying to break into feature film in a bleak little country that didn't have an indigenous filmmaking community. So my calculation was if I made a film with young people, they would be cheaper as actors. They would be cheaper to use. They wouldn't know that I was a tyro director. They wouldn't know that I hadn't done anything before because they hadn't done anything before either. And I would be able to learn my craft in some way or other by making a film with young people. And also in terms of an audience, I thought, well, there'd be an audience for it. And then I thought football. So it was quite calculated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us where we are for these sort of scene-setting scenes.
This is Cumbernauld. We shot the film in Abram Hill High School. Most of these people that you see, most of the lead characters were all young people from the Youth Theatre. We just had very few adult actors just playing teachers and things like that, but we can maybe talk about that later.
Yeah. That's
David Brown, the referee. Oh, he's gone. This is Dorothy Sinclair, who was a stalwart of the Youth Theatre, and that's Jake Darcy counting the soap. That's a little running gag with the soap.
Yeah. And in terms of, one imagines that this is it's all scripted. You didn't do improvisation on set, although it has a very naturalistic feel to it. You had written the script. It is a scripted film from the outset.
Totally, yes. And I was actually a bit precious because I didn't know any better. I actually didn't like any improvisation at all of the lines. I think I was scared of it. I was scared that it would get out of control. So I kind of insisted that everyone say exactly what was in the script, and I kind of stuck to that for a long, long while. It's not that we didn't improvise. We improvised between things in rehearsal situations. But even if we changed stuff, I always insisted on writing it down and having them learn it because it was a very old-fashioned thing. But I just wanted to know what I was nailing. When you're filming something. I didn't have the confidence probably to let things kind of get out of control.
And tell us about your relationship with John Gordon Sinclair, because obviously you'd worked with him actually now throughout the whole length of your career that he's recurred. How did you first meet, and what is it about him that he sort of became your muse for a little while?
Yeah, well, he was one of the boys in the Youth Theatre, and when we were shooting That Sinking Feeling, he had a very small part in that because I think he was busy with his hires, his O-levels or something, so he didn't come out a lot to play.
So how old is he when he's doing this now?
He's probably 17, but he was 16 when I first met him.
Right.
And he just kind of shone in That Sinking Feeling. And I remember saying to Mick Cole, to the cameraman, at one particular point, I said, I think we found Gregory. I think that's him there. And that worked out. But he's got a natural kind of animal type talent for acting. His body language, his timing. It was all there.
He's a very physical comedian, isn't he?
Yes, and he's faultless. His physicality is faultless. In a comedic way. In fact, I directed him because I was a tyro director. I probably directed him too much. I can sense that now when I watch it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel that because some of it that I've put a layer of manner onto him. You know, if I had the courage or the experience to just let him be more himself. You know?
Is that something that you're thinking now, just watching? Because
Watching
I know you sat and watched this last night. Just
yeah.
how did it play for you when you watched it last night to refresh yourself?
It did feel manner, but there are many reasons for that. The other reason was because this was serious money now. This was English producers and and properly funded and all of that. So there was a little kind of fear, I think, in everyone from the real film industry, the producers and things, that this little Scottish film, nobody was going to understand it. So I was very conscious, and I only remembered it watching it again the other night. I was very conscious that the producers were always kind of whispering in my ear saying, I didn't quite understand that, could you ask them to say it a little clearer, this. And I think that put a little edge of manner onto the kid's performance.
Because you had famously had an issue with sinking feeling, hadn't you? That some people said they couldn't understand the Glasgow accents, and in fact you went back and did a redub.
Yeah, it was redubbed when Sam Goldwyn Jr. bought it for America. Yeah, so that
in
was
what's known as the Edinburgh redub.
It is kind of weird, that one. That should be a collector's piece, that one. It's not something that gets out a lot.
Okay, so who's this? Who are we looking at?
This is Dorothy, embodied by Dee Hepburn. Funnily enough, Dee wasn't in the youth theatre. The youth theatre in Glasgow had actually a lot more boys than girls in it, and it was a much smaller kind of pool to find, to cast the girls in. So Carolyn Guthrie, she's a youth theatre girl, but we had to cast the net wider to find Dorothy. Because she had quite a lot of demands on her. She had to, look the part. She had to, have a little physicality, the football thing.
Yeah.
So we put that together.
So how did you find her?
Just the usual, the normal casting thing. She was a young actress at that point. She'd done one or two things. She'd been in a TV series, the Prime Miss Jean Brodie. That's what you call it.
And who's this?
This is Clare.
Now, you say this is Clare. Obviously, there was that weird thing that when Gregory's Girl was out, Clare Grogan was a budding pop star who, I think almost simultaneously when the film was out was on top of the pops. So.
Yeah, not quite when I first came upon her. She wasn't in the youth theatre either, but once I had written the Susan character, I knew that I was looking for someone particular, and I was actually in the spaghetti factory at a restaurant in Glasgow with Mike Radford, and Claire was the waitress. She was hopping around the tables, and I said to Mike, God, she'd be great for Susan, in the film.
On the basis of the way she waited the tables?
No, just her look and her manner, whatever, yeah, I don't know. But maybe me, I wasn't going to make anything of it, but of course Mike Radford being, he shouts her over and says, my friend's the film director and wants to put in his film, So I ended up getting her phone number, and or she got mine, one or the other, and it worked out.
And was she in Altered Images at that point?
No, it was almost simultaneous. She was, I think it was maybe a few months later after the film, when the band got serious. And this is part of Gordon's talent here, mastering all these. He's also a very good technician as an actor, because he had to master all these things, and within days of us, he was starting the film. He was doing this thing that you really appreciate in an actor. That he was finding his mark every time, and he could repeat, movements and to accommodate camera, all of that stuff. He was just picking it up. He was picking things up every day.
And what about the rest of the sort of the key creative team around you? Tell us about your cinematographer, for example.
Mike Coulter. He was from Glasgow. He started work when he left school for Charlie Gormley and I in our little company called Tree Films, and he just kind of grew up with us making these documentaries, and. By the time I shot That Sinking Feeling, he had actually bought a camera, so that's how he got the job as a cinematographer in That Sinking Feeling, because he had a camera.
Because Sinking Feeling famously was in the Guinness Book of Records as the cheapest theatrically released feature film ever made, I think.
At that point, yeah. Mm-hmm.
At a total cost of
I think under £3,000 in cash. Yeah.
Staggeringly little.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this, obviously, you've moved up into the stellar area in terms of funding for this, and that must have put some kind of pressure on you that you were dealing with, as you said before, proper money.
Yes, the whole thing that you can see the film. You can see we're in a car. We've got rigid mounts in the car. All of this, all this technical stuff. This, in a funny way, it's a very old-fashioned film, because in those days, in the late 70s, the film industry was still a very kind of industrial process. You still had to have so many crews, so many camera crews. You had the guy with the dolly, all of that stuff. So it really hit me like an express train, the whole process. It's something I had to learn quite quickly over that 6 weeks, because it's a big machine that you have to control, and it controls you if you don't control it. And things like weather cover I'd never even heard of. But that was this was the worst summer since 1907, I think. Right?
So what months are you shooting this in?
This is June, July, and we were shooting between the rainstorms. It just rained all summer.
Well, there's quite a lot of exterior stuff. There's all the stuff in the park. There's all the stuff in the football pitches.
Well, guess what? See the football. When you see the football scenes, they're in the school. The football pitches have a red blaze on them. Right. Now, what happens to red blaze when the rain hits it? It changes tone. It goes about 10 tones darker. And then when the sun comes out, it starts to dry in patches. So we had this horrendous continuity problem. Every time we got near the football fields here, you'll see them crossing it, and this looks like a kind of semi-dry day, because I think it's reasonably kind of light pinky colour when we get to it. But sometimes it was like raw umber,
So there's a total lack of continuity when it comes to the football pitch.
Well, what we used to have to do, we used to have the arc lamps on the field to dry it out, so we could. but this is obviously a dry day.
And so you're saying that for most of the shoot, you didn't get drunk, because it does look like the film has a summery feel about it, and there's a lot of sort of early evening stuff and a very bright atmosphere.
Well, that's it. Well, we fortunately the days are long, so we if you don't, you just stay around until it's light until 10 o'clock in June, July. So you just stay around until you get it, really. These are some of the very few adults in the film at all. There's only a handful of adults in the cast.
And you cast them just through the usual process?
Yeah, they're all Scottish actors of that ilk. And I kind of directed them towards, I was trying to get a switch around. I was trying to make the kids in the film, the young people, the kind of grown-ups, the articulate ones, the ones with attempting to make sense of their lives. And I wanted to make all the adults like childlike, kid-like. So that's why we're getting all this kind of silly banter in the staff room.
Tell us about the tone of the film, because people always think about Gregory's Girl as being it's a comedy, it's a romantic comedic, but with all your stuff there's this kind of melancholy and a poignancy. Were you setting out thinking I want to make this a funny film, or were you setting out thinking I want to make this something which is, because I always think of it as, as I said, slightly more poignant than that?
I think it is. I think it's just the way that I kind of can do humour. It's not a choice. It's not something that I can calculate really. It's just the way it turns out. I mean, humour to me is a human resource. It's not a mode of entertainment. It's something that we use internally and hugely in our lives. In different modes. So in that sense, it's a serious business. But it's a humour. It's a complex thing, and it's got many colours to it. But so I don't just like playing with it on one level.
But all that sort of stuff, like the little thing that just happened there with them blocking each other, I mean, that's kind of classic physical comedy, isn't it? And you grew up watching, I think that you said the first films you saw were like old Mother Riley films.
That's right. And Jacques Tati films, I used to watch them at school. The good headmaster showed us movies every Friday. So, so physical humour is something cinematic. There's something cinematic in it for me. This trial will allow me to assess these three basic aspects of your skill. All the old jokes are the best.
He is really funny, though.
No boots. I'll get some, if I get in the team. Oh, that's a dead loss, son. Go and get changed.
Now, when you see, like, for example, these scenes playing out, do you remember directing every one of them?
No, I have very little kind of sense of having been here. It was quite hard work. I know that because of the schedule. It was a tight schedule and the weather, and also the fact that, as I say, the first time that I had to wrestle with the filmmaking machine. So I had quite a lot on my plate, and I was also going through the stage for the first time of realising, as a writer or director, that when you're filming a script you've written, you're not bringing it to life, you're killing it, because because whatever you as a writer thought you were going to see on the screen is not what this guy, the director, has given you, because there's so many compromises.
Well, Terry Gilliam always used to say that every day on a film set was it was kind of a thing of attrition. It was whittling away at what you wanted, and you ended up with what you got. And
exactly, yeah.
You feel the same way?
Well, totally, yeah. But it's wrong to be negative about it, because everyone's contributing to it, and it's actually better than you think. It's just that thing that, because it's not your, what you were dreaming about for the last 7 years, trying to get it made, it's something different. But 10 times, out of 11, it's probably something better. But you don't know that at the time, at the end of the day.
So this is now the significant moment at which he suddenly realises what he's up against.
Yeah, and it's that confusing thing that he should be. There should be some kind of competitive feeling towards this girl, but he's just so besotted by her that he's on her side from the word go.
So now, could she play football anywhere? Did you have to?
No, she did some training. We got some people at Partick Thistle to coach her a little bit on the moves. I don't know very much about football at all, but
you're not a footy. I mean, I've never.
No.
I confess, I've never watched a football match in my life, so I wouldn't know.
Me neither. In a perverse way, that was part of the fun of making a film with football, and it was just another silly kind of perversity for me.
What? So you just thought, I'll do something about a subject about which I know absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Because it's like another hurdle to overcome.
Yes, it's just yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just perverse. So it was good fun from that point of view. But fortunately, most of the crew, in Scotland, you're not too far away from a football fan or a football expert. So we had lots of help.
God, legal gologist. I remember when this first came out, I remember seeing it in the Barnet Odeon, and I was taken by a friend of mine who'd seen it the day before and said, "You have to come and see this film," because it became the touchstone film of the time, and that line, was quoted ad infinitum.
Mm.
Do you look at those faces now and think, wow, they're so young?
Incredibly, yeah. Especially Gordy for some reason. I mean, Rabbit looks pretty much the way he does, and he's still got his long hair. I
take it that, so obviously because that's a cutaway, was that actually her kicking it past him, or was that somebody else?
No,
that was a fix?
No way. There was that whole scene is very heavily edited, and quite cleverly edited, but it was a matter of getting enough material to put that little edited story together, really.
So now, in terms of the order in which you shot the film, because you didn't shoot in sequence, did you?
No, that was another shock for me. I thought you just started on page 1 and shot it all the way through. But
so can you remember vaguely the order that you did Gregory's Girl in?
I think the thing that you do is you do all the exteriors first, just and kind of worry away at the weather, and only use the weather cover, the inside stuff when you have to. So I think that that's Mike's Coulter's Volvo, but that's a cameraman's Volvo back there.
Very nice car. Lime green.
Lime green. That was a 70s colour. So most of the exteriors, this would be early days. This would be stuff that we did at the start.
So basically, whenever you could get outside stuff, you did.
Yeah. Yeah. And the great thing was we had the school as a central location, and it was summer holiday time. It wasn't term time, so we had the run of the school. We had our production kind of base in there, and we ate in the canteen and stuff like that at lunchtime. So that was a really big asset. We had a kind of secure base.
And what's your inspiration for her character? Did you ever know somebody like that? Somebody who was a great football. I mean, where does her character come from? I know the title Gregory's Girl actually, you think it's alluding to one character, but actually to another. But for the purpose of this, where does her character come from?
I needed a sporty thing, and I needed a girl in it. I needed the kind of romantic elements in it. Because in fact, the whole inspiration, I remember that it was a book called Maggie Cassidy by one of the Beat guys. I forget which one. Okay. And it was it was a kind of autobiographical thing about him falling for a girl athlete at school, as far as I remember. So that's where the sporty thing came from. So I just needed a sporty girl, and there was vague feelings of girls getting into football and things at that time. So it was really quite a simple notion to hit on.
So as far as Clare Grogan's concerned, I mean, so she had acting experience before or not?
No, she hadn't. No, just waiting experience.
And so how does, I mean, obviously you had experience with the youth theatre, but how does it work directing people who haven't acted before?
Well, this is it. None of these people had ever acted before. Even the people at youth theatre, it was a very ad hoc youth theatre. It wasn't the official youth theatre. There was no drama lessons going on there. There was a wonderful guy called John Gordon who ran it, but he was kind of coaching the kids, in his own way. So these are all just human beings. That's the incredible thing. But I think there's something about young people at that particular stage in their lives where they are naturally acting. That they are natural actors because, in a way, they're imagining their lives. They're putting their personas together. So there's a lot of acting in their makeup. I mean, you kind of experiment with different versions of yourself until you find one that you can hook onto. So, in a sense, there's acting in the air when you're around, people of this age. Only helping friends out in one or two little films, yeah. Yeah, I did. But under duress.
It wasn't something that you felt was your forte?
No. And no, it was. But we all helped each other. I was in a couple of films by Johnny Shorstein. He had got some BFI money for a couple of films in the mid-70s, I think. But as I say, acting, there's just something so natural about it in young people of that age, and it's not as if they were the people in youth theatre. They weren't kind of drama, directed. They weren't all, they weren't all wanting to be actors. It was just a fun thing. It was a thing that just made an interesting part of their lives.
But the thing that you very rapidly got a reputation for was for being an actor's director. I mean, later on, you'd get great performances out of actors from both sides of the Atlantic, but very early on the reviews were saying, Bill Forsyth gets these great performances out of the cast, but you seem to be sort of suggesting that that's not your doing.
Well, in a way, the young people here, they taught me that maybe that mode of directing, because to my mind, all you're doing is to one of these young people, I would give them an idea. I would kind of direct. That very word. I would direct them to somewhere to think about, what we were doing, and they would deliver it. But it's just a kind of nudging process. It wasn't. There was no. That was the funny thing. Before I had directed films, I thought that it was such a relief to find out this wasn't the case. I thought that when you directed a film, you had to teach the actors how to act, I thought you had to kind of know all the technical stuff about improvisation and all that stuff. But you don't, you just give them the script and you let them loose.
But I mean, in terms of that scene we just saw, he, as John Gordon Sinclair, he is a natural physical comedian. But I mean, how did you direct him for that? You just said, just do some funny, warming up.
Kind of, yes. But the other thing was the script was... because I didn't have any kind of background as a director, I used to help myself, because you have to learn all the tricks. So I used to put an awful lot of helpful description into the script, so that an actor reading it would kind of get a lot from the script.
So you would kind of write the script almost like a novel. So you had, of proper three-dimensional descriptions of stuff.
And you couldn't help, as an actor, you couldn't help but read it and kind of get an idea of what was meant, what was expected of you. You
said earlier on that there were a lot of what we saw in those training scenes that was cutaways, but she is clearly doing, all that keeping up stuff that is hers, and
Yeah. The guy called Pat Harkins here is when you go back to the teacher, you'll see him.
Yeah.
Pat Harkins was only 12 years old. He was at this school, and we used him as a one. He had one or two little lines in the scene. He's actually a director now. He's a film and TV director.
And was this his first ever?
Well, he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether.
So is this is a wet day or a dry day? I'm looking at the colour of the...
That's wet. You can see it. It's sodden. It's just heavy. It's just like heavy sand, that.
So basically, the darker it is, the wetter it is.
Yeah. You can see that's almost kind of grey.
And you had to match the shot so that days would match up with other days?
Yes, because sometimes you would shoot, half a scene in an afternoon, and then the next morning you'd come back to finish the scene, and the red blaze would be, either very light pink or heavy grey. And you had the run of the school during this. Did you have any sense when you were doing it that it was going to... obviously because Sinking Feeling, had a great festival play at the Edinburgh Festival, but it wasn't something that had a huge wide release. Did you know when you were doing this, you talked about stepping up... Oh, there was... Yeah, that was not Pat there.
That was him.
I was on a high here because I had Clive Parsons and Davina Belling, who were hot producers. They were producing it. We had a really solid budget from the National Film Finance Corporation had put the budget together for us. Clive and Davina were hot. They were bringing out, they had made Scum, and they were bringing out Breaking Glass.
Yeah, of course,
all of that stuff. So they were kind of hot, and I knew that they were seriously going to work this film, when it was made. And the people at ITC were wonderful too. They were all very bullish about it from the script, from the start. So everyone was, I felt that we were going somewhere with it. If I could just shoot the damn thing.
See, so much of this is to do with physical comedy, with his hand through the thing. I mean, I just wonder how much of that. My inclination is to say, well, you said you grew up, you mentioned Tati and all that sort of stuff. That you grew up watching those movies, and there is an awful lot of that in your early movies, and you clearly love it. You, almost more so than the dialogue.
I think so, yes. It was also Charlie Gorman, my partner in the little documentaries and things, because Charlie was a real Hollywood aficionado, and he used to make me watch all the Hollywood movies that were on TV at that time, the Press and Sturgis things and all that. And they've got a great kind of physicality, a great energy about them.
I mean, this is like, it's almost like forerunner to Mr. Bean. And then what he's about to do, which then became the putting the fingers on the nipples, which then became something that people did in changing rooms for years afterwards as the Gregory's girl joke.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I stole it from a Glasgow comedian, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
Who?
Lex McLean. He was an old Glasgow vaudeville music hall comedian, and I saw him do it in a show once. In the same situation, he was working out, and the woman came in and came into where he was, and he put his fingers on his nipples, and she said, "Oh, Mr. McLean, I didn't know you were an athlete." He says, "Oh yes, I eat a box of oranges every day." And she says, "And you've got such wonderful square shoulders." He says, "I ate the box as well."
So he's the source of that gag.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, well, credit where it's due.
Now, I swear to God, I wrote this scene before I'd seen Jaws, because I know that I've been told that there is a scar reviewing scene in Jaws, the original Jaws, but this is the original.
You must have seen Jaws since then. The scar scene is really famous. This came first.
This came first, yeah. In my head, anyway. And if I was going to steal something, I would probably steal it from Godard or Bresson. I wouldn't steal something from Steven Spielberg.
He said, with barely concealed withering contempt, I wouldn't steal from Spielberg.
No.
Do you see in her sort of pre-echoes of, for example, Stella in Local Hero?
Yes, it probably is. It probably is that kind of out of reach woman in a lot of the stuff I do. There is, yes. I don't know whether it's just a kind of movie motif, or I don't know whether it's something to do with me and my experience of women. But yes, there is always something about the slightly unattainable woman. But it's just a process. It's just part of the progress of love, isn't it? Really.
And how much of his character is autobiographical to you? Because obviously the temptation is always to read the central character and these sort of things as, the cipher for the actor director. But he's very unlike you.
Well, I suppose the similarity is, in terms of with Gregory, I didn't go off to a kind of running start with girls at school. I was a bit of a late developer. There were some people in our school who were already kind of engaged before they left school. These couples you found, but once
what
again,
kind of school kid were you then, Bill? What were you like at school?
Not very serious, but not very sociable either. And I wasn't into sports and things like that. So I was on the kind of edges. I had a little group of friends, and we kind of discussed philosophy, and went to see went and read weird books and things like that. Went to art galleries. So we were in that little kind of alternative fringe of school, really.
And did you start, because you talked about the documentaries, but did you start photography and making films when you were at school, or was that something that happened afterwards completely?
It just happened when I got the job. I had really no interest in cinema at all until I got the job in the film company.
And how did you get the job if you had no interest in it?
I was looking for a job that would give me some quick money, because my two friends from school and I were going to take off. We'd bought a GPO van, a little green GPO van for £10, and we wanted to go to Greece in it and find a new life, an alternative life. And we needed money to, kind of pay the petrol and get some spending money. So then I saw this job in the newspaper. It said lads required for film company. So I thought films and money in films, So I got the job finally, and it was £3 a week. I didn't ever get to Greece. still in the film business. 50 years later, I think that was in 1964.
So you hadn't sort of been, when you were a school kid, you hadn't dreamed of being a filmmaker and being in the movie business?
No.
What were your ambitions?
I wanted to write. I used to say I wanted to be a journalist, so I think writing was more of a key thing for me at that point. But there was no practical way to do that. I did send away for some jobs with the publishing companies and things like that, and magazines and things like that. I think I got close to having a job as a trainee journalist in the IPC publishing. They published all these magazines.
Yeah.
But then this job in the film company turned up.
One of the things notable about this is, I mean, obviously it's partly a period thing, but nowadays everyone is so used to editing being very fast, very, constant. Like every shot lasts about a second. You do a lot of, there'll be a master shot and a slow pan out, or a slow pan in, which actually the scene plays out effectively before you. You're not somebody who does an awful lot of cutting around for the sake of it, are you?
Yeah, no, I don't go out my way to create a kind of spurious energy in something. I mean, the energy is just in the situation and the characters. I used to say, well, it's patently true from watching this. I don't actually have any kind of filmmaking style visually. I mean, I just.
Do you think that's right? You think you don't?
I don't. I know for a fact, because I don't spend an awful lot of time thinking or worrying about in the sense of putting energy into the look of the film, or the kind of visual energy of it. I used to say that all I did was just make the camera accommodate the action. It makes sense, like a kind of trite thing to say, but that's about as much as I ever wanted the camera to do for me.
You once said that you had a functional style, and you said it in a sort of typically self-deprecatory way. But I said, well, what do you mean by that? And you said, well, I mean that I have no style. I have a style that is the function of the film.
I would say that's true. Yeah. Because I'm only really interested in what's happening, to the people on the screen.
So, okay. So, for example, tell us about how you would. I mean, how would you have directed this?
This actually was the one time that I fell on my face, because this scene originally was a scene in the playground. And it had 6 girls in it, and the girls were baiting the boys, and the girls were playing passy football, and the idea was that all of the girls were into football, but Dorothy was just the best one, and they were talking about boys as they are in this scene. The dialogue pretty well stayed the same, but it was so complex having these 6 girls and these 3 or 4 little boys running about, and this dribbling, this passing the ball to each other with the dialogue, it was just too complicated. So after half a morning, I just said to Clive, I said, I'm going to have to go away and rewrite this. I can't handle this many people in one shot.
Do you want to explain the
penguin?
Yes.
Well, yeah, interesting penguin. That penguin, inside that penguin suit is Christopher Higson, who is the son of Paddy Higson, who produced and production managed this for us, and she produced That Sinking Feeling too. Chris, there's a whole little Greggy Skull family tree that we could maybe talk about in another commentary, because Chris is now in New Zealand. He works for Peter Jackson. He's a carpenter in Peter Jackson's workshop.
Wow.
And he's the last I heard, he was making him make all these replica planes for him.
This for Dam Busters?
No, Peter Jackson, I believe, is a airplane, not old planes. He spends a lot of money making, completely original.
You don't mean model work? You mean actually making proper old? Okay.
Like for instance, First World War fighter planes and things like that. Sort with camos and things. He'll make flying replicas of them. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's our little penguins down there doing that.
But that's a very, you say that you have no style, but that's a very Bill Forsyth touch, the thing with the penguin. I mean, it is. You do like that sort of absurdist, unexplained surrealist comedy is something that does appeal to you.
Well, it's just one part of this is due to the fact that this film really doesn't have a story in a way. I mean, it's.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it has such a flimsy story. It's about a boy trying to get a date with a girl, and he finds another girl. I mean, you can say it in one sentence, but so it's not a story that, in a sense, it's such a kind of spacey story. There's so much room in that story that you really have to fill it with things. And so the instinct is just to go out, is to continually look for things to augment that story and make it more interesting and make every scene more interesting. And so the idea of the penguin, but just, well, schools are strange places where strange things happen at a strange time in people's lives. So, you have things like that happening. And that's it.
So do you genuinely, you think it is, I mean, I know you mean it, but you think it's not I mean, I think the story of Gregory's Girl, you could explain many films in that way. You could say Star Wars is about some kid in space who finds out that his father's the other. I mean, it's
Yes,
you can reduce everything to that level if you want to.
That's true. But maybe it's just I was very self-conscious of it, making this, because it's something. I suppose it's something I learned in the process, because I didn't realise that the films actually you actually don't need an awful lot of story. You're absolutely right.
Do you feel self-conscious about your own work? I mean, for example, sitting here watching this now, you're doing a lot of looking away from the screen, for one thing. Do you have a problem with watching your own films? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a problem. I just avoid them. I don't have a problem at all. I just don't ever watch them.
And why is that?
Because the only reason that you would have to watch a film that you had made is to find fault with it. There's no other reason to want to watch it, because you know what's going to happen. So the instinct when you're watching it is to see what's wrong, see what you could have done better.
Okay, Bill. So what's wrong with this?
The whole film is very slow. It's quite slow. It's very slow. It's almost slightly too slow, but in a way I don't mind that, because I suppose it just helps people concentrate a little more on it. It's not a whiz-bang story. You could tell the story in half an hour, I suppose, on the screen if you wanted to, but it's just the accretion of detail that I like about it, and that requires time.
But that's something that stayed with you throughout your whole career, is that all of your films, I mean, even the ones that that you found more problematic than others, it's, I mean, if you look, for example, at something like Breaking In which I know you had a rough time with the final cut and everything, but actually the thing that defines it as being a Bill Forsyth film is those incidental details. It's those little things that make the characters ring true. It's the inclusion of the stuff that actually other more mainstream films would leave out. I still remember, you once saying about being human, well, I should have just written a poem, and you do have a poetic sense of detail.
Well, that's what I like about film, and that's why I enjoy making film. For that, I don't enjoy telling stories so much, but I enjoy just gathering that material and having and allowing people access to it. I think that's really what it's all about.
She'll bring her own soap.
It's such a great look.
He is a comic. He's a master comic, so his timing is impeccable.
And then, for example, when you're sort of working with sort of very young actors, how does that?
Once again, kids are wonderful. They say what you tell them to say, and they have well, if you pick the right ones, they have this instinct. They have the timing, and they know what's required of them, and they know how much and how little is required of them.
And you're not somebody who does 20, 30 takes of things, are you? You tend to
8 or 9 would be enough. Yeah, 8 or 9. And he's a real little operator. The girlfriend goes off and then he finds the other girls and passes the sweets around too. The whole idea was to make the younger kids more together than the older kids.
So the sort of central inversion of Gregory's Girl is that the younger they are,
more together.
And the more grown up they are, the more likely they are to be doing all the stupid stuff with the cake in the bathrooms.
Yes. And then kind of topping that with the headmaster, the kind of crazy headmaster.
It is striking to look at the cars in the car park, because actually I still think of Gregory's Girl as being sort of, of the relatively recent past, and then you look at the cars and think, oh no, actually that is quite...
A couple of Maxis there, a couple of Austin Maxis. The town council in Cumbernauld were very good to us. They obviously were quite happy to have us there. They gave me a little house to stay in for the shoot, so I was just round the corner from...
And what is it about Cumbernauld? Because actually Cumbernauld is, is virtually a character in the film. Mm-hmm. What is it about Cumbernauld?
It's just the newness of it. I mean, I wanted the...
Because there is a sense of almost artificiality, isn't it? Like totally. It's kind of arrived from nowhere.
That's what I liked about it, and it's almost like the whole town is just a theatrical backdrop to the kids, to the young people, you know, and there's nothing else in the way because, you know, being Scotland, being the 70s and making a film, before you know it, you're kind of burdened with all the kind of the political, you know, the socio-economic stuff. You know, I just wanted to kind of wipe that all away, and just, you know, just have the young people in their situation and nothing else. And so that's what the new town gave us.
So it's that kind of the idea of a blank canvas, the artificiality of it, that it's almost like you're working on a movie set, and it's like, so you can look at the backgrounds and it's almost like it's a clapboard.
Exactly, it's just like a theatre backdrop. It's more theatre than cinema in a way. The kind of Shakespeare thing, you know, the Midsummer Night's Dream thing coming out as well, and that you've created a stage for these things to happen in.
We spend too much time on the road up there, so we turn up once a week, singing songs, telling jokes, washing the windows.
See, again, it's a great, you know, sort of long takes with the entire scene playing out in a single shot. That was sort of a signature for you, wasn't it?
Yes, I suppose there was a little French thing there we were picking up as well, you know, because funnily enough, Mike Coulter, he had worked quite a lot in France by that time. He at one stage in his career, he was a focus puller to Pierre William Glenn. He used to shoot all the Tavernier movies. So that led to, you know, Mike bringing back some nice little ideas for us. And then, of course, we always let him choose the wine if we were eating out. He knew the best. He knew the best wines.
And what do you like in the editing room? I mean, are you a hands-on director in the editing room, or do you let the editor get on with it?
I don't. I'm pretty hands-on because I was an editor in the early days in the documentaries. So yeah, I'm pretty hands-on, and I enjoy the cutting room a lot.
More so than being on set.
Yes, for a start, the big pleasure is that the shooting has stopped. That's a huge pleasure when that stops. Everything goes quiet, you know. So there's a week or two of just the sheer luxury of just wandering into the cutting room at 11 in the morning with a book to read while you're not doing anything, and absorbing the film in that way.
So this again, it's this recurrent theme of the younger they are, the more they know.
Yeah,
the older you get, the less you know.
Yeah, he's getting all the heavy advice from his young sister.
Yeah, they make nice trousers.
See, that's very, very slow scene. Yeah. Could have gone faster than that.
What, the roundabout could have gone faster?
The whole thing, yeah. We could have speeded it up there. I had to talk quicker.
But as you said yourself, that it is actually the breathing space that makes it as charming as it is. You wouldn't want it to be a faster paced film.
Mm-hmm. And also, people have taken themselves into cinema and they're sitting in the dark. They shouldn't really be in a rush to go anywhere else at that point, should they? They should be quite happy to watch.
Do you get impatient with films?
You were nice to me when
Yeah, I probably would. I don't see a lot, but I probably would because I would probably be kind of ahead of them. You know, that thing when you've actually worked out what's going to happen, you know, over the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it unwinds and it exactly happens that way.
So when you look at this, what influences do you see? I mean, what films does your own work remind you of?
That's a funny question, an interesting question. I just see it as a whole kind of accumulation of all the things that I was learning in all these ad hoc ways, you know, watching Preston Sturges movies, watching some Truffaut movies, you know, it's just all of that, all of the cinema, that kind of cinema had a language in that period of time, you know. There was something coherent that you could learn from a film. I don't know about that now.
But you say that as a past thing. You think that's something that's gone?
I don't watch enough contemporary cinema to be able to make a bold statement, but I would think it has. I would think there's so much genre stuff going on. There's so much need to entertain at a different level from the way I was trying to entertain people. It's just changed hugely.
Do you feel pessimistic about cinema?
No. I think there's always kind of, you know, there's always, you know, intelligent cinema going on around whatever else is happening. I feel that. I do.
That looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, Bill, what's significant for you? What are the things that watching the film raises for you?
I just, it makes me realise, because it is so slowly paced, and that makes me kind of self-conscious about it. The thing that then I notice is that all the little things that I've tried to put into it to almost appease that slowness, you know, almost to appease the audience, and and thank them for watching, thank them for sticking with it. I think that's where all these little things come from, because I'm saying to the audience, please don't go away. There's something. I'll give you a little something else in a minute. You know, if you just sit down, don't leave, don't trip up on the way out.
You eat it, don't you? I've never seen you turn your nose up at anything I've made.
See, I think the thing about watching it now is actually just how good the performances are.
Hours and hours I spent.
The cast are really good and really natural and very funny.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're working so hard at it, because this isn't a natural situation for any of the young people to actually be speaking words that they've been forced to learn. They put their own emotions into it, certainly, but for them it's a very artificial situation, and that's why they're remarkable in the way they handle it.
Oh, this sounds like a foolish question, but are those their own hairstyles, or were the hairstyles coiffed at all? Because one of the things that's remarkable about this is very, very 70s hair.
Yes. Well, everybody was like that. That's the thing. That's the thing.
But I mean, did you prep them before? Is this basically what the guys would look like and the girls would look like?
Yes, we did. I don't, from memory. We had the makeup team, obviously, but from memory, I don't think we sat down and said, "No, what will Greg's hair be like?" I think that's just the way that he turned up, and we made the best of it. They would be trimmed so that we would have a shape to refer to for continuity.
Yeah.
So we probably contained them or corralled them into these shapes. They were probably basically all a bit more wild than that.
And how does this now relate for you to Gregory's Two Girls? Do you see the two as a pair? Because obviously watching Gregory's Two Girls does reflect on Gregory's Girl.
Yeah, I think they would work. I think they would work well together. I don't know if there's anyone on the planet who's actually sat down and watched them back to back, but
they must have done a double bill. They must have done.
I doubt it. I mean, Gregory's Two Girls got so little exposure. I don't think it would have occurred to anyone. But I hope there's someone out there who's had that experience. I must say I haven't actually had that experience myself.
And what led to Gregory's Two Girls? Was it the idea of that you kind of missed the characters and that you liked them and you wanted to catch up with what had happened to him? And
no, it came about in a more mundane way. It was someone approached Clive suggesting a TV series of Gregory's Girl, the original. But this was
a TV series of this story.
Yeah, but it's set in a school and all that, and that was just too boring to contemplate. That was like 25 years after the event, and so my instinct, my response was to say, well, let's make a film about Greg now, and he's still at that school. You know, nothing has changed. That was the little kind of format that I came up with, and the more I thought about it, the more I kind of took to it, the idea, and suggested to Clive that Clive Parsons, who produced the first one, that we just try and make a film of it, and that's what happened. Who
dressed the posters on his wall? Were they his choices, or
they were? Yeah. Gordy got his own posters. You know, I don't know where he got them from, but it was certainly his taste. I wouldn't have imposed that on him.
So an awful lot of what you're seeing in that character is to do with is the actor bringing it to the role himself.
Yes, the drums. I mean, Gordy wanted the drum kit, so we got him to play the drums in the film.
Well, of course, and he plays in the Cayley band in Local Hero.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's such a great shot. That's such a great pan.
It's kind of French, that, isn't it? It's a little French.
You're sort of always inclining towards Europe.
My little Truffaut moment. Yeah. And kept the music off it as well here.
And just fill us in on the Midsummer Night's Dream significance thing, because obviously that's kind of in the background of all of it.
It kind of builds up, yeah. I hadn't, funnily enough, watching it recently, I hadn't realised it was so emphatic. I thought it was a kind of slightly, understated thing, but in the film they're reading the book and they're reading it, it's in the school and all this stuff. I hadn't realised it was so emphatic. But it is there, and the film ends up with a kind of magical midsummer evening where everything congeals together. So I was just I wasn't stealing the plot, or just a little bit of the ambience of Midsummer Night's Dream.
And was that always there from the beginning of the script? Did you sort of start the script thinking of that?
I honestly can't remember. I don't know whether that came about, because the other thing is that locations can influence things a lot. There's a nice creative period when you're looking for locations where you're very alert to things and you pick up things. For instance, the penguin thing came from walking around the school and seeing a kid coming out of an art room with a huge paper mache head, on a tray, and it just made me realise that all these things happen in schools. And I think maybe the Midsummer Night's Dream thing came from actually finding Cumbernauld and wandering about there and seeing what was on offer. and then writing it in. I
And as you
suspect-
said, that whole thing about seeing Cumbernauld as a large stage, as rather than a
Yes.
place, but as somewhere which is like an artificially created stage.
Exactly. So I think maybe the Midsummer Night reference was written in probably in quite a late draft before we shot.
It's logical evolution. Evolution is a thing. No more men or women. It's a whole world full of wankers. Think. This is a modern girl. Made to be photographed. Aye. I'd have to get my wide-angle lens on her.
Can you remember shooting this?
I can, yes. That was in the school. The school had
So that actually is their darkroom.
that is their dark room.
So,
yeah.
so none of the school stuff is a set. It is all in the school.
That was in the school. Yeah, we just got a little red filter on the light there so we could see what was happening. But we utilised the school to a huge amount. And this is Greg. They do a little deal at the end, and Greg buys one of these photographs from him, and then he goes into school the next day, and in the toilet they're selling them for half the price he had to pay over. Yeah.
But that's a very, very sort of Bill Forsyth joke, isn't it? Because you do have that thing about, on the one hand, there's the romantic glimmer, on the other hand, there is the sort of the cynical
The
undercutting of it.
practical,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Do you think of yourself as being naturally optimistic or naturally cynical?
I think realistic. I think anyone who's I think over optimism is kind of slightly debilitating thing, but I think a healthy attitude is the one to have. You're quite clear sighted. You can see the hurdles, and you can hope you're going to get over them, but you don't kind of deny them. I mean, the over optimism, you're just going to make yourself blind to things, and that's not the way to go.
Is there anything you didn't get when you were shooting all this stuff, Bill? I mean, everything seems to sort of fit together beautifully. Is there anything you didn't get? Because obviously resources were slightly limited, and you had a fairly restrictive shooting schedule, didn't you? You shot the whole thing in 6 weeks.
Yes, yeah. I can't. There's not much missing. No, there's not much missing.
I'll give you a dry one. Don't want you dripping down the corridor.
Tell-all. Draw. Tell-all.
This is an interesting little thing. The girl here, about 20 years later, a little company around the production company, we were having a tax audit thing,
Yeah.
and this tax inspector turned up to do the books, go over the books with my accountant, and she said, "I was in one of your films." She was the girl
And she
in
was the tax inspector.
corridor, yeah. She's the tax inspector now.
So again, this is the inversion of younger knows more,
Uh-huh.
older knows less.
But then the older's got the muscle, the kind of brute muscle takes over.
He is a natural physical comedian, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Everything about the way he stands, the way he holds himself, the kind of that self-consciously gawky.
Yeah.
That is just his natural.
There's no way that I could direct that, or no way that you could teach that either.
They can't wait a million years.
So when you first saw this with an audience, did they laugh in all the right places? Because I mean, it was a huge hit, wasn't
I do
it? So,
remember that, yeah.
London Film Festival opening, was it?
Yeah, I do remember. It was one of the nicest experiences, because I hadn't had it before, to go into a cinema. And I got into the habit in Glasgow when it was running there. It ran for quite a few weeks. I was just popping in and standing at the back, and
So you just go and see
absorbing
how it was playing.
Yeah, it was real fun, and it was almost like playing the audience like a violin, because obviously they were hitting all the notes that were there, and they were responding to what was there, and it was quite thrilling, for that little while to see how you could play an audience, how it could work for an audience. And that was the best audience of all, because that was a local audience, so they were getting it twice as better as anyone else would.
And also it got like universally great reviews, didn't it? I mean, it was really embraced by the critics.
Yeah. I wonder why. I suppose it was fresh and different, and it was coming from somewhere, unusual. Here's Pat Harkins again, film director, TV director.
And there's the differently priced photographs. Can you remember the publicity campaign for it?
I can't. No, I can't.
With the poster with him doing the thumbs up and her with the ball, and I think the tagline was "It's the match of the day."
Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking at this now. When I watched it the other night, I thought, I wonder if people will get that thing about the photographs. It's two sizes, blah blah blah. And I thought, okay, there's enough there. People will get that. But of course, now at the end of the scene, it now goes into the dialogue. So I didn't even have the courage to just let that stand. He now goes into the booth and says, "Hey, I paid twice as much for that." And I thought, Bill, come on, you could be more subtle than that.
I could use a persuasive prick like you in the organisation.
You are very critical of your own work.
Onto an uncaring population. Man, get it. I bought one of these this morning and it cost me 25 pence.
Yeah, overact.
I don't think so.
No, I'll get a laugh still. Yeah, I mean, it did get a laugh.
But that's the other thing which is hard about directing comedy, because obviously you only know whether comedy works in front of an audience.
I know, you just don't know where to be subtle and where not to be subtle. But I suppose the rule is that just forget about subtlety altogether. Just lay it on, egg it on.
Did you test screen it?
Not. I don't have any memory of that. No. No, I don't think so.
So you didn't know until it was locked and out whether or not it was going to work or not?
Yeah, I honestly don't think we did test screen it. I don't know. And that surprises me because Clive and Davina, if it would have been a resource they would be into.
And can you remember what other films were around when Gregory's Girl opened? Because the thing I remember was everyone saying, it's the little film that's done really well. It was up, competing against other sort of more generic movies, and that was its great selling point.
I think. Well, I remember Chariots of Fire was out around about the same time, roughly.
Which of course was huge, celebrated.
Yeah. And David Button was quite clever with that, because after they had both had their first runs, he got the two films together. He said, "Why don't we put them out as a double bill?" So they staggered around for another few months together.
Well, of course, David Putnam said it was a very important player in your career, wasn't he? After that sinking feeling, I met David fairly quickly after that, and Clive and Davina, to be honest. But David was very supportive. He'd introduced me to my agent, who's still my agent, and Anthony, and he set up. He got the distribution deal for that sinking feeling, the first one. Yeah, he was very helpful. And Local Hero, you said, came out of his suggestion of.
He just said, "Let's do something," and. In Scotland, and if you can find a couple of Americans to be in a Scottish setting, we can do it.
Look, in terms of his costume, right? His comedic costume, because he's got the baggy shorts which make his legs look. So is that how did you do it? Did you go off and say to him, "Right, you just get your own kit," or is that because that's a dressed comedy costume?
Oh no,
right?
we were dressed for comedy. Yeah, we were in comedy mode, definitely. And as I say, I would have think maybe I was over directing Gordy here, because I don't know. Neither of us were had any experience of this kind of situation, but knowing him, I think he would have been a little. I think I was pushing him into the more kind of energy comedy here.
Did he have any problem at all with the ridiculousness of the blue son shiny shorts?
No, he was just he just got it immediately. He just got it immediately and enjoyed it. I mean, he's enjoying. It's not a chore for him to act. He just loves it. He loves it, and he's good at it. So that it doesn't get any better than that.
His obsession with his moustache is great. The pride that he has in having grown it.
Yeah.
And again, this is the more grown up they are, the more childish they are.
The teacher's loafing around, yeah. There's Chick Murray, Scottish comedian. Wonderful comedian, just totally eccentric.
So how did you end up casting him?
I don't know. He was just someone that I wanted to know and work with. He told me his mother was a Cherokee princess. And he told me he used to remembers as a young child sitting at home with his father and saying to his father, "Daddy, where's Mummy?" And his father said, "She's out in the back garden talking to the great buffalo in the sky." That was Chick Murray.
This is a well-known fact, but do you know the ratio of women to men? 8 to 1. It's 8 women per 1 guy. That's the sort of place for us, eh? It's called Caracas.
Are you happy in goal?
It's okay.
See, again, this is your see. I'd say this is your signature shot. You know, it's a pan and then a long, and then the two of them held, and it's all done in a
Yeah.
You know, you're not.
But yes, well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know of another way to do that. I don't know. You be too much bother to track alongside them forever. You know, there's a little track at the end, but once I went, it's a little track with energy in it because it goes back and forward between the two of them, and it kind of it dances with them.
And you shot this is 35, right? Because Sinking Feeling
solid.
must have been Super 16 or something.
That's right. No, this is 35 mil, and it's that was the first experience of using that.
We haven't talked at all about the music for the film. Tell me about that.
The music is, I think, listening to it the other day, I think it's very 70s music.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Tully wrote it. He was in a local band in Glasgow called Cado Bell, and he played the saxophone in the band, and he also wrote the music for That Sinking Feeling.
Yeah.
That's the first time we worked together. And I'm not sure that there was a lot of solo saxophone in it, and I think that was a very 70s sound. You know, that I don't know whether it was Cat Stevens. Remember, sorry, not Cat Stevens. The Year of the Cat. Al Stewart.
Also, yeah.
The Year of the Cat. Had that kind of. I don't know whether that was the instigator of the saxophone solo in the middle of the song, but it kind of caught on. There was quite a lot of it. And I know in this film and also in That Sinking Feeling, the saxophone was a kind of front instrument because it was Colin's own instrument.
Do you think a lot about the role that music plays in films? Because obviously by the time you get to Local Hero, the score is incredibly important.
I have a thing about music. To me, having to use music in a film is a kind of signal of failure, because I think music is only there as a kind of crutch to things that aren't expressing themselves as they should.
So you think that you fall back on music because the direction and the dialogue hasn't done it?
Yes, or the audience needs something else. Maybe it's not even the fault of the film. Maybe it's just that the audience need a little kind of nudge to get somewhere.
So would you ideally make a film with no music at all?
I would definitely do that. The thing is, it's very difficult to get away with because you can't show your hand. Because if you say at an early stage when you're signing contracts, you say, by the way, I don't want any music in this, everyone runs a mile. So you've got to kind of keep your powder dry.
Well, if that's the case, but how do you then work with, for example, your composers? If you're basically going in saying, well, in an ideal world, I'd like to have nothing at all, but
I wouldn't ever mention that to a composer. No, I wouldn't ever bring that up. But the funny thing is, when I'm at that stage with a film, when we're starting to think about the music, I know exactly where I want the music.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of that instinct that I know the bits where either it's got to get from here to there and it needs something to help it, or it feels kind of draggy, or something's not working, you know. So it takes me less than half a day to do all the music spotting, you know, for a film. It just seems so apparent where it needs to be, the music is necessary.
You said once that the thing with music is that it's you have to have a very sort of firm hand on the tiller as far as using as little as possible, but it's interesting the way in which you use music is often quite theatrical. It's often sort of, you know, scene links and scene change.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's because I'm so uninterested in it that I don't actually give it the time of day in terms of helping a scene in any other way. I absolutely love music. I probably love music more than maybe not more in literature, but certainly more than film. And music listening to music is a big part of my life. But I just fall apart when I think of putting music and film together. I don't see the point in it. Possibly it's because I love music so much. Maybe it's the opposite of what I'm saying. Maybe it's not because I think film should stand on its own, and maybe I'm actually saying that I think music's too good to get involved in film.
That dance, I'd forgotten that dancing.
Remember your neck.
Somebody said, and I remember telling the crew in it when we were making this, especially in the school scenes, that most of a filmmaker's life is spent directing actors in and out of doors. You know, people are always coming indoors and getting out.
Yeah.
And it was certainly the case in the school because we just endlessly all these corridor scenes. You know.
So here we have his his distinctive hair being coiffed.
Yes.
So how old was he at this point? Was he 19 or?
Probably just hitting 18, yeah, I would think, just hitting 18, yeah.
And he played drums in a band anyway, right?
Very roughly speaking, yes. I think he gigged a few times. He was into Judas Priest and Rush. These were his big bands.
So this is a classic composition of yours, isn't it? The sort of the slight absurdity of the great big clock face.
Yes,
him with the dinner jacket on.
Yeah, but it's kind of old Hollywood. It's like, remember that movie with the big tennis rackets, and they were playing. She was playing tennis in front of her husband or boyfriend, and she went all to pieces, and the racket became 40 times the size, and that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing, that kind of screwball thing.
So it's the awkwardness. It's the fact that everything's the wrong size.
Awkward is the word. That's exactly the word. Yes.
And the jacket is wrong as well, because this jacket he's had to, it's rolled and it's slightly too big for him. And he does look like that thing about Little Man Lost in a Big Boy's Shirt.
Yeah.
So now we move in towards the end game of Gregory's Girl, which is this series of events which gets him to, he thinks that he's going on a date with somebody, and in fact he's going to work out that it's
that's right. The girls have organised, have choreographed a different evening for him.
So this is the point at which what you would define as being the plot kicks in. This is the Midsummer Night's Dream screwball fantasia, right?
Yes, but it's done at a very measured pace, because that's the pace of life.
Waiting for Dorothy.
And is that a Waiting for Godot joke?
I no, it's just because it's so measured. But I think this leisureliness is something to do with the producer's insistence that the actors say the words properly.
But that's not. But Waiting for Godot thing, with the Waiting for Dorothy, because that's the.
No, if I'd thought of that, could have been a good title.
Yeah. Waiting for Dorothy.
Waiting for Dorothy.
But so then this begins this kind of this slightly absurdist chain of events, which is as I said, this is the point at which the mechanics of the plot start functioning. And I always thought actually that was part of the joke about putting him in front of the great big clock. Is it's almost like, okay, fine, here's the clockwork stuff.
Yes, right. Yes, well, these are all the things. These are all the things that creep in. Yeah. Basically, it was a practical thing that Cumbernauld had acquired that big clock from one of the railway stations in Glasgow. It used to sit up on top, of a huge tower. I think it was the St Enoch station. But it's way up in the sky, and you don't realise the scale of it till you're standing beside it.
The light's really beautiful here.
Yeah,
this is magic hour.
This would be 9 o'clock, maybe 7:30, 8 night.
So you had long nights because you're shooting in the middle of the summer. So sundown
is maybe 11:30. We probably shot some shots at the very end where we were shooting way into 10:30, and then we had to use artificial lights even to light up the park.
This is one of the moments at which you'd have to explain to a modern audience that in the day before mobile phones, this is how you made phone calls.
Yes, and you had to sneak out of the house in your gabardine coat so your parents wouldn't know that you were a punk.
Look, I've got to go home. I really enjoyed the walk. You go that way, right, and I'll go this way. See you.
Oh, Gregory. Thought we were going for chips.
Chips. Okay. There you are.
The funny thing is, you were talking about awkwardness there, and I'm starting to realise that the experience of making this film, I don't know why, but it kind of brought out the idea of a kind of cinema of awkwardness in me, and I don't think it ever left me, because it became a kind of reflex action of mine. If a scene needed something, then I would say to myself, it needs some awkwardness, and it kind of grew as a kind of motif. And the more awkward the film was, the more it equated with realness in my mind. I used to equate awkwardness with reality, the real thing,
So it's kind of like discomfort becomes the indicator that something is truthful.
Yes. It's just a little mode that I go into, and maybe I overworked it or whatever, but I think that's where I kind of learned that.
And is that something that you feel has seen you all the way through your career?
Without trying to sound like a one-note kind of musician, yeah, I think so. I think I tended to exploit it a lot, And it's an easy instinct to have, It's But you just learn these little tricks.
Dorothy stood him up, so he's
I mean, I think that's the key thing about your register is that there's always melancholy behind it. There's always, even in the most obviously broadly comic sequences, there is always this sort of sense of something sad and something dark behind, which actually makes it, makes the comedy all the more poignant.
Yeah, I would hold to that. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I can't.
This is a great indication, isn't it, of your linking music bits. It's the key
Yes,
dramatic scenes
yes.
linked by like a little riff which will last sort of 4 or 5.
It probably puts the audience to sleep more than
No, but
the
it's
lines.
it is like when you were saying, I can see it'll go there and it'll go there and it'll go there,
Yeah,
and you can actually see
yeah.
you doing it in the editing.
because I don't want it anywhere else.
It's those little gestures of his, though. It's the shrugs of the shoulders and the things, the way he holds his arms that make him such a... I mean, the camera loves
Yeah.
him anyway.
Yes, yeah.
Because he
And-
is genuinely funny, but it's to do with the way he holds himself.
No, it's just completely fluent in body language.
So when did the idea of the long sort of relay race of from person to person to person come about?
It must have just come about. It was in the script, so I don't know where it came from. It was, I suppose, once the basic idea was that the girls were a lot smarter, more organised, and more self-supporting than the boys were. The boys are just a disparate group of all these crazy longings, with no coherence to them, whereas the girls are saying, okay, you want a boy, you want this boy, I want that boy, I'll help you get this boy and you can help me get that boy. And it's just that, so that it came from that little kind of equation, really.
Because the key register of him all the way through this sequence is he has no idea what's going on and he's just following wherever
Yep.
he's led.
Yep. Because the girls know best, and sure enough, he finds the girl that he can make out with, yeah.
Wearing his slightly ridiculous jacket. And again, that's the great comic thing about him wearing that jacket against that background, because it's so incongruous.
It kind of glows in a way, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
But it's got a kind of Clark Kent Superman thing as well, hasn't it? It's like...
Yeah, it's also the boy thing that you need the... It's almost not costume, it's almost the cover, you need the protection of the jacket to be able to handle the evening.
I have to say, after you said how much of this was shot in, rain and all the rest of it, it actually seems to be... It looks like quite a sunny shoot. I mean, it doesn't look like something that was beset by bad weather.
Well, the funny thing in Scotland, it happens in the summer, you get a wet day, and then around about 6 or 7, the sky clears, and then the sun comes out, and you get this nice balmy, kind of moist evening. And that seems to be what was happening here a lot.
I'm just a bit emotional tonight.
Because you knew these locations so well. What was it when you went to America to shoot? Did you find that problematic?
Not really. I mean, I got to know Cumbernauld probably in 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't. You just drive around and you find places, and it's not kind of. I mean, it's a very precise process. You drive around knowing that you're looking for a place to shoot scene A and scene B. You're not kind of driving around with an empty head, So it's quite a practical business, really. And so it's the same wherever you go.
So here's the meeting now between...
And for once, Gordy's speechless. I mean, Gregory's speechless.
You're all dressed up.
And this is her first screen role, then?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Did it make any difference that when the film was out that she was at that point kind of
Oh yes, it did. I think it did help.
Because
Yeah.
I remember reading an article about the film, I think in the New Musical Express. And,
That's right.
because Clare Grogan was in it.
Because she was in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a help. It was so funny, and the timing was immaculate. As soon as the film was finished, almost within months, she was in this band, that were taken off.
But also strange because the character that she's playing in this is so completely at odds with the character that she plays in Altered
Yes,
Images.
yeah.
It started out as sort of as a punk band,
Yes.
and then developed into this other sort of strange, surreal confection.
Kind of joke. All this, the Carol and Margot. It's a joke, isn't it?
Not a joke.
No, it's just a little schoolgirl here.
They help each other.
Who's Dorothy?
Dorothy's a good sport. Anyway, how about it? You and me, what do you say? Think about it. Sit down over there and think about it.
He does awkward so well. You see, you are laughing now. Watching him, you are laughing.
I'm watching his performance. I'm laughing at that. Yeah, that was pure him. There was nothing, nothing in the script or whatever was helping that along.
I mean, that because essentially that's just like that's a whole thing of silent comedy. You know, it's not to do with what you say. It's just to do with it's almost like Keaton-ish or Chaplin-like gestures, isn't it?
Yeah, time has to pass, and so you just pass it and. This is just a very, very kind of small shadow of it. I think I had one or two scenes with him being a gardener and talking to his plants and things, but it was one of the things that was curtailed just by the length of the movie, and just into that one little shot. Probably quite meaningless, but...
No, but that shot, I'm sorry, I always thought that shot was love blossoming, because that's the point at which, because he's... isn't
right.
No.
No, it was just the idea that
okay.
the gym teacher had no human life and no kind of human life at all. He
Yeah.
just talked to his plants.
No, but you said that one shot then seems meaningless without the rest of that stuff. But in fact, it's because it's the moment
another
in which
purpose.
yeah.
It's got a kind of another kind of. It's there for another reason.
So look, so tell us the origin of what's about to happen, which is the dancing on with the world turning sideways. So where does that come from? One's inclined to think that it was something that you did as a kid.
No, I'm actually hard put to remember. I'm pretty sure I didn't write it in the script because it wouldn't. I've no kind of conception that that's something I would have kind of brought to it. I think I'm beginning to remember. I think it was actually when I first brought these two together when I first had them meet each other.
Yeah.
And we were rehearsing and just kind of doing all these kind of play acting things that you do to find the characters between the two of them. I think I caught them doing that. On a park bench, because we used to go up to the park in Glasgow to rehearse these scenes before we were on location, and I think I caught these two doing it, and then I think I went home and wrote it. I certainly have no memory of it. It's not something I would have thought up out of the blue. It needed some instigation.
You just lie flat down and dance.
I certainly wrote the words that they say, but I don't think I had the idea.
I'll start it off and you just join in when you feel confident.
I just always imagine this must have been something that you must have done as a kid and have been sort of dying to get into a film.
No, it was theirs. It was theirs, definitely.
I'll tell you something, and not a lot of people know this.
See, this became absolutely iconic, this sequence.
This the tilt shot.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know.
I remember talking to Mick Coulter about it and saying I quite like the camera to tilt, and I said, do we need a special bit of equipment? I mean, can we talk to Samuelson? Is it going to cost a lot of money? What do we do? Is there a tilt here, or what do you do? And he just got the camera, the tilt bar is at the back of the camera.
Yeah.
He just turned the camera 90 degrees on the tripod, and then he said, there you are. It was good up and down.
So that was the high-tech solution.
That was it, yeah. I said, wow, we don't have to phone it for anything. This is amazing.
That's a lovely shot.
You do get the sense of them clinging to the earth. You do.
Yeah.
You do really sense gravity, don't you?
But it's funny. I mean, again, you have to remember when it first came out. I remember really clearly people, in school talking about that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people went out and danced and.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect there were people doing that around parks around the country the summer that it was out as a result of Gregory's Girl. Yeah.
Mm.
So you figure you first saw them doing it on a park bench?
I think so. In Glasgow, yes.
I'll go down to the hospital.
In their getting to know you period.
Exposure test. The flesh tone experiment. Oh yeah, the flesh tone experiment. Of course. Have you got the right equipment? Oh, of course. 400mm lens. Opens up to 2.8, which with 700-foot candles at say 100 yards.
And this is the mimicking the gestures and everything. That's a very
old one, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's very you. I mean, that always reminds me of like the thing in Local Hero with the two guys doing the impression of Jimmy Cagney at each other,
right.
and both doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, there is a temptation just to use the old ones are the best. I think I did steal that from some other film or other, the idea of somebody mimic.
Well, so you could be accused of taking it from Jaws, although, as you said, you predate Jaws.
Did it happen in Jaws?
Well, it says the kid watching Roy Scheider, isn't it? And Roy Scheider does all those things at the table, and the kid does exactly the same thing. That's two things that you ripped off of Jaws before Jaws came out.
No, I can't.
You should write a letter to Steven Spielberg. That's now 2 scenes that he stole from you.
I'm blushing now.
Although Jaws was first.
Was it? I didn't see it until about 30 years later on some late night channel.
Now, this is the kind you imagine that it would take ages to get this kind of, it's beautifully lit, it's exactly the right time. There's only like a 5-minute window when you can do it.
That's right. It's we were lucky. We did get lucky. As I say, most of the evenings were better than the days. But this is artificially lit. This is one of the times when the sun's actually gone, and we had to get a light out of the van and put some light on their faces. This is probably about 11:15 at night.
So you'd overrun on that day?
Yeah, we just had to squeeze it all in. There's no way you could go home and leave, a little shot like that to do another night.
If you just want to walk me to the bridge, that's fine.
No, the way home I don't mind.
Okay.
So how does it feel now looking back on it after all this time? Does it hold up for you?
It does. It holds up fine. I won't be watching it every Saturday night, but yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy to let it have it, whatever life is left in it, and for people to take to it if they wish.
I think it's still
I'm very
really
fond of it.
Yeah, it's really charming, Bill. It's really,
The thing is, it speaks a very simple emotional language for young people, and I think maybe that's why, partially why it's had such a kind of long kind of existence, because every 10 or so years there's another kind of another bunch of young people who are suddenly ready to see it, and mum or dad will get out the old DVD and show it to them, and it will start it all up.
Has it played fairly regularly on television?
It has, yeah. Yeah. I'm only saying that from just
From royalties.
to see the contracts and things. But yes, there's always a little flurry for the license every few years.
I mean, it's just funny to think about the way in which different people would get to see it for the first time, because obviously when it first came out, cinema was the thing, and then video was was a slightly later invention.
It had the DVD. Sorry, the
VHS.
The VHS was the first one. Yeah, we had VHSs. Yeah.
Well, I remember buying a VHS of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a date.
So
you feel sort of fairly warmly towards it?
Yes, I can. I mean, in a way, I don't claim ownership of it, because there's so many wonderful things going on with that. The cast, there's no way that I can claim ownership of that film. When you see what they contributed, and they're 95%. Well, amateur isn't the word, just non-experienced actors.
Mm-hmm.
People who haven't done that before in any way. Never mind in front of a kind of movie camera. So that's what impresses me.
I mean, great as well that those two leads went on to have very, very sort of significant careers, and to carry on working and to do good work. And I mean, that must make you proud.
Yeah, it does. Yes, as I say, we could do another little voiceover on the Gregory's Girl Family Tree, because of all of the careers, all the little things that have happened to people. Because it's funny, it has had that. There has been a resonance of that.
So this is back in his room again. So these are the posters that he chose. So he's dressed his own room.
Yeah, that's it. Is that Rush in the background there?
Well, that's the specials over there on the right hand side.
Specials, right.
Him in bed with his jacket on.
I'll see her tomorrow.
Did you kiss her?
No. Maybe tomorrow.
You liar! I saw you. You kissed about 50 times.
Shh, you wake the mate and paid her.
I better kiss you too then. It's hard work being in love, eh? Especially when you don't know which girl it is.
I think I stole this relationship from Catch on the Rye.
Okay.
He had the little kid sister who took him through life. Nice little musical bridge there. Let's get this show on the road. Now, this scene was completely ad hoc because And in the script, it simply had a kind of throwaway scene with these two boys, because they talked earlier on about Caracas being a town where there's 5 women to every man, or 8 women to every man, and so they're heading for Caracas. So when we turned up to shoot it, the art department, they brought out the sign and they'd spelt it wrong. So they get very embarrassed and said, "Oh, go away and write it again." I said, "No, hold on a minute," and then quickly wrote the scene around the fact that they spelled it wrong. So these are the wonderful things that can happen on a black night in Cumbernauld.
Come on, we can start again tomorrow.
And I think there was a couple of these slacker films. Was there not a guy in the slacker films who didn't say a word all the way through the film?
Oh, sure, yeah.
I
Okay,
think this is the original of that.
So this is like Jay and Silent Bob, right?
Yeah, so I've made this is the prototype Silent Bob. He doesn't say a word throughout the whole movie.
I think everything's going to be all right.
I think everything's going to be all right.
And this is I think this is quite a nice ending, because it's giving Dorothy back her kind of dignity in her life, because I mean she's got a road to travel, you know.
Yeah.
She's not just the kind of love object. She's on her own journey, you know.
Yeah.
And I needed that.
Did you actually deface that road sign?
No, that was if you see it, the town, that was one of our signs, because it said Climacton. I called the town Climacton.
Oh, right.
That was after Climax, Arizona, in that Billy Wilder movie.
Okay, yeah, okay. So that's a total prop.
Climacton, yeah. So that was a prop one.
Well, Bill, I thought it was lovely to watch it again. I hope you like it as much as everybody else does.
Well, yeah, I would certainly will give it the time of day, yeah. But it's what it is, very much so. But I'm really impressed with it. I can see it now very clearly, just what everyone else was doing there.
There we are, Penguin Christopher Hickson.
Yeah, he is.
Is there anything in those credits that stands out of people that you don't remember?
No.
Or do you remember every single one of them?
I remember them all. I remember every single one, yeah. David Brown, Unit Runner, he produced all the Young Indie series for Lucas, yeah. Eric Coulter. They're all there.
That was when thanks were proper thanks. Budget Rent-A-Car and Walco.
Yeah, it wasn't Rolex watches and whatever, you know, it was serious people. John Gordon and Liz Lockhead, they get credits.
Well, that's like you attempting to get funding for sinking feeding from Tunnocks.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Bill.
Thank you for talking me through that.
It was a pleasure.